I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. It is June 30th. Welcome to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners meeting. I'm Aaron Mays, representing District 3, currently serving as the chairman. On my left is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1. And on my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook, representing District 2. Morning to both of you.
Morning.
All right, Madam Clerk, first item, please.
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
We have 6 items on the consent agenda today. I would move for approval if there's no questions.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Okay, under information technology, paid with ARPA and SLF-RF funds, CWF Government Inc., $43,420 is for purchase of Surface laptops for remote working. Total vouchers as of June 29th, 2022, $2,040,476.36. If there's no questions or comments, I would move for approval of the vouchers. Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval of the correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, Department of Corrections number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-199-2022, 2022, state fiscal year 2023 memorandum of understanding with One Heart Project, Kansas, to provide mentorship services to Shawnee County Justice-involved youth for a maximum of $40,000 to be paid with fiscal year 2023 state grant funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Phelps, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. This is an agreement that we have begun to hold through state dollars with a local organization that supports the judicial process by helping the courts deal with juveniles who are moving into the justice system, and sometimes they need some mentorship and some housing options as they go through the process, and so we are using state dollars to contract with One Heart Project, and I have a gentleman here named Victor Hercules who is our primary worker at the local level, and I'd love to have him step up and give you a little bit about the organization. Victor?
Honorable Commissioners, it is a pleasure and an honor to be before you and talk about our mission with the One Heart Project. Our mission is to reach out to young individuals, juveniles, who are involved in the juvenile justice system. And the way we approach this initiative is to reach out youth while they're in detention. We have staff and volunteers that come into the detention center and correctional facilities here in Shawnee County. And we assist with building relationships with them, long-term relationships. We reach out to volunteers that can give a minimum of 12 months commitment to work with one youth. In the process of reaching out to youth while they're in detention, we teach character building skills with a curriculum called The Heart of a Champion. It's based on life skills and the social emotional intelligence. We meet them where they are, but we follow them into community. For those who engage in the program, we provide court support. We go with them to court. We show the judge the plan that the youth and the staff have created to find a solution when they get out, to see if they would connect when they get out. And we have the blessing that many times the judge would court order this youth to remain in our program. And so we work with the probation officers to keep that connection going while we are in community. Part of our job is also to provide them with the tools and the skills needed for them to become successful. We have been in the county for 5 years, and we have successful success stories from juveniles that we met in the detention center, and right now they're managers at the local restaurants. And these are things that stories that we can tell now. Employment is a big deal for youth dealing in this community. If you're familiar with the lack of even the ability to fill out an application and get a resume done, well, we contract a local person with the Topeka Youth Project. She used to be with Topeka Youth Project, and she is very. She has a curriculum that it's very thorough with working with these youth, preparing them for employment, but not only preparing them for a job, but also teaching them the ability to follow through the process. Is engaged also in community, and this is through a contract with One Heart. And we follow them in the community and help them get that job, but not only help them get it, but help them maintain it and help them get a raise. So we stay engaged with them throughout the process. Our goal is to improve the quality of life for youth in the Shawnee County. I don't want to take more time, but I have left a folder on your desk for you to kind of look at the pathway to a second chance that the One Heart model has developed for the youth in Shawnee County. And we're very thankful for the support that we get from the JCAB and the Shawnee County. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions at all?
I guess, are you looking for more volunteers, Hercules?
Yes.
So do you want to tell people how they can get in touch with you?
Yes, and thank you so much, Mr. Cook. And now that we have the media here, I will take advantage to ask folks who are in the Shawnee County. I think we are in times where you can invest in the life of youth in our community. We have a lot of fatherless youth that we are working with, and they could benefit from 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week can go a long ways. So I appreciate if the voice can be spread throughout the county. We really need more folks to become involved. Partnership with, not just with One Heart, but with every agency that is providing services to youth in this community can make a difference, and it will go a long ways. Thank
And
you.
their contact information for you?
Yes, you can contact me at 785-220-7792. And also you can email me at victor.hercules, just like you see it in the movies, at oneheart.com. Or you could just go into the website and into oneheart.com and just sign up to volunteer. I look forward to hearing from those who want to step up.
1 hour a week. Thank you.
1 hour a
Thank
week
you. Yeah.
goes a long way. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, I'd be happy to answer any of the questions that you have.
I don't have any questions, but I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the contract.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 2, consider approval of the following memorandum of understanding with the Kansas Children's Service League for services during state fiscal year 2023 to be paid through grant funding. A, contract C200-2022 to provide juvenile intake services for $34,303.23. And B, contract C201-2022 to provide juvenile community services for $181,726.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Phelps, Department of Corrections. Again, this is a year-to-year agreement also, and this organization, Kansas Children's Services League, has been for many years providing services to the community, what they call juvenile intake services. And they have a strong reputation here, and they work well with law enforcement. And I have actually asked Samantha Sanchez, who is most directly over that service, to come in and speak briefly about what they do. Samantha?
Morning, Commissioners. As Tim had indicated, my name is Samantha Sanchez. I am the Family Services Supervisor for Kansas Children's Service League, so I'm directly overseeing Juvenile Intake and the Oasis program. I want to thank you for the opportunity to come in this morning and speak with you a little bit about our youth programming. With respect to Juvenile Intake, in addition to some things that Tim had said, Juvenile Intake provides 24-hour access, to law enforcement for juvenile intake, for juvenile offenders and child in need of care. This does include runaways and children that are placed in police protective custody. Once a child arrives or is brought in to Juvenile Intake officers complete detailed intake reports for submission to the district attorney or our local DCF office, assessing for strengths and needs of the youth through standardized testing. Based on the needs assessment that are completed, juvenile intake counselors refer youth and parents to appropriate long-term community resources. Some of the assessments that juvenile intake completes, we do a MAISY-2, which is a Massachusetts youth screening instrument. It's a behavioral health screening tool that's designed to identify youth 12 to 17 years old who may have important, pressing behavioral health needs. Answers to these 52 question assessment provide scores in 7 different areas. We complete the Kansas Detention Assessment Instrument. The Kansas Detention Assessment Instrument is administered to all alleged juvenile offenders ages 10 to 17. It's used to help determine the appropriate placement based on public safety, risk of the youth, or their past history of failure to appear. And now, just most recently, we've started completing the human trafficking screening instrument. It helps us to identify those vulnerable youth in Shawnee County, that are most at risk of becoming victims of human trafficking. So that's, in a nutshell, that's a little bit about what we do. Once all the assessments are completed and the information is sent off, Juvenile Intake collaborates with law enforcement to determine release information for these youth. It is always our goal, 100%, that youth go home safely with their parents or guardians. In some instances when that's not possible, decisions have to be made on whether the youth is detained in a secure facility such as a juvenile detention facility. So that's the first one. You get to hear from me some more.
All right.
So the next program is the Oasis program. The Oasis program it provides intensive in-home case management for youth ages 12 to 17 who are justice involved. The goal of the program is to improve family functioning and to prevent youth out-of-home placement through the juvenile justice system or the foster care welfare system, child welfare system. Once Oasis case managers make contact with these families, they complete service plans with the youth and parent to identify need in various areas and connect based on what we discover in the service plan or the needs assessment. We make referrals to long-term community resources for these families, do follow-ups, attend meetings with them to help get them moving in a better direction. Services that are provided by Oasis case managers vary. They're based, most definitely, every case is different. Oftentimes our case managers are in homes doing 2 cases at once. We're also very much working with parents as much as we are with youth. Some of the services that we provide that are geared towards would be like youth and parent mental health, youth and parent substance usage, life skills development. We work with families on educational needs, truancy issues, financial challenges, housing, employment, and we also do provide after-hours crisis stabilization. That service is offered to our families 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Juvenile Intake. Oasis receives referrals from a variety of outlets. One of our biggest would be the other program that I oversee, which is Juvenile Intake and Assessment. These programs are sort of connected. Youth comes into Juvenile Intake, they do their assessments, they identify their needs, and they make those referrals to the Oasis case manager, who is on call 24 hours a day. Therefore, day or evening, Juvenile Intake staff is instructed to contact a case manager to immediately step in, offer that crisis stabilization services that's so often needed when these youth come in through Juvenile Intake, and to get services started as quickly as possible for these families. On top of that, after juvenile intake, we receive referrals from court services. We work very closely and collaborate with the juvenile judges, with the district attorney here in Shawnee County. And, yeah, so in a nutshell, that's what we provide too. Through Oasis, our services can go along anywhere from 3 to 6 months. But again, that's really dependent upon the needs of the family, so.
That's great.
That's all
Yep.
I have right now.
So, those of us that work with juveniles in the juvenile court system might have some idea, but for those that don't, from your perspective, working with juvenile intake and working through Oasis, what are some of the things that maybe you've seen over the last 2 to 3 years? Are there more needs for your services, less needs? Are families in less crisis, more crisis? What's the snapshot of the juvenile family look like in Shawnee County?
We've definitely seen over the course of the last few years through COVID and through the pandemic, working through the pandemic, we've definitely seen an increased need for mental health services, which is, it has created somewhat of a barrier because there are challenges in getting these youth into services, these families into services. We've had families with depleted incomes that are struggling, with housing, paying their bills, paying their rent. I think all of those things, have definitely increased the need, at least through our Oasis program. Definitely, we're seeing increased needs across the board for our families in a variety of areas. So,
Okay. And then the number of children that are coming into crisis has gone up.
for our Oasis program, or at least acute crisis care needs, I would say so. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then through Oasis, they're able to maybe keep those families intact?
Absolutely. That's the whole goal, is to prevent, we're working with justice-involved youth that have some involvement in the juvenile justice system. And our goal, the whole goal of the program, is to provide services to de-escalate crisis and prevent that youth out-of-home placement through the juvenile justice system, or through the child welfare system. So yeah, that's absolutely.
So through Oasis, we're trying to prevent people going into foster care or into a juvenile detention facility?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
That's fantastic. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B3, consider approval of the following memorandum of understanding with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Topeka for services during state fiscal year 2023 to be paid with grant funds from the Kansas Department of Corrections. A, contract C202-2022 to provide youth development services for $81,984.08. And B, contract C203-2022 to provide teen center programs services for $75,918.
Tim Phelps, again with Department of Corrections. This is another annual MOU or series of MOUs we enter into with Boys and Girls Clubs of Topeka. They are focused a lot more on prevention and providing resources to the juveniles to kind of keep them out of trouble during particularly the summertime. They get really, really busy. So we're happy to support that effort, and I have, she already came up. Don Mcwilliams, who is the head of that operation, so I'd like to have her talk to you briefly.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dawn McWilliams, Boys and Girls Clubs of Topeka. First, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to have funded the program through this means. We all know that kids who are at high risk need a safe space when they're not in school. Boys and Girls Clubs works diligently across the county through 14 different club sites to provide that very service for out-of-school time when kids need us most. So before school, after school, and then as Major Phelps alluded to, during the summer, one of our busiest times of year. But this funding, the first level of funding that was identified for prevention programs, is earmarked for our high-risk youth throughout all of our club site locations. To really focus and concentrate on the necessary prevention services that are needed. They may be in family environments where they are influenced by perhaps negative behavior or negative experiences. Our responsibility and our commitment to those youth is to provide them a safe place to understand proper decision-making, consequences, and how to develop into a productive, positive young adult. That first level of funding, again, is more focused on our elementary sites. The second allocation of funding that we receive, we kind of view that more of as intensive care services. That is really infused into our teen center program. When you take a look at the census of our programs, that particular site location serves the highest risk youth who have touched the criminal justice system in some way. We have the highest percentage of youth in state custody in that program. And again, those youth with all of the characteristics are identified by law enforcement in our community as the highest at risk. And so the services that we provide are a higher level intensity so that those kids do not make a decision that will completely alter their life, and to provide the necessary safe location to learn how to better be successful adults in the community, and then to also change the behaviors that might have originally got them in that situation. So lots of empowerment, skill building, understanding of consequences, and then again, just providing and wrapping around supportive staff to really help them be successful and help them work through the individual challenges that they may have. One of the caveats that I'd like to add is that you're going to be hearing, as you've already heard, a number of different allocations that this funding provides. The really unique thing about each one of these funding allocations is that as a system, what benefits our community is we don't operate in silos. We work as a collaborative network, not just to respond to the needs of youth, but to really address on how do we create a system where we don't have to come before you and ask for more money to serve youth, and address the increases that we're seeing that juveniles are having in the criminal justice system, that we're working to really address the root of those issues, not just with the children, but with the families. And I know that we're all committed to do that, but our system is maximized, our ability is maximized, your financial investment is maximized with our fiduciary responsibility because we all collaboratively work together and play on each other's resources and expertise that we all have. So I just wanted to emphasize that point as well. Any questions for me?
Dawn,
Yes, sir.
how's our teen center doing?
Our teen center is extraordinary. We are actually in a position now where, unfortunately, we are exceeding capacity, and we are looking at possibly constructing. Our goal is to construct a new career work readiness center for teens. The last thing that we want to do is create a wait list for teens that need us most. But I think that's indicative of the need that teens have, is that we do have a waiting list. One of the greatest partnerships that we have that I like to boast on this summer is with Topeka Police SROs. And they were just here yesterday with our teens and Judge Durnovich learning about the juvenile justice system, how to stay out of it. If you've touched it, what you need to do not to come into it. But it is an interesting dynamic because during the school year, our population is really focused on Topeka Public Schools. But when you look at our population during the summer, we are serving high-risk youth from every school district in Topeka and Shawnee County. So it's evident that there's a need.
Well, we got the spray park open on Wednesday, so I'm glad to have the spray park back open for the teens to maybe cool off on after they go to the teen center.
Yes,
So,
yes.
thank you for everything that you do in the community, and running out of space is not the worst thing that I've heard. After having the Abbott Community Center being underutilized and now being filled to capacity, I'm glad to hear that we're more opportunities for our youth.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I know you were major and instrumental in making that possible, so
Well,
thank you.
You're the one that took the risk. So thank
It
you.
was worth it.
Don,
Yes,
I
sir.
realize you have a lot of partnerships with the different school districts, but how many different club site locations do you have now?
We have 14 club sites.
14.
Yes, sir. We have 3 traditional club site locations, which are utilizing community centers that had closed down. One in Montera, serving primarily that Montera community. The Teen Center, which as Commissioner Cook alluded to, was the old Abbott Community Center. And then we have our flagship, the Adams Club location. The 11 other sites are infused into some of the high-need schools for kids to access before and after and out of school time.
Okay, Very good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for everything.
You're
you do.
welcome.
Any other questions?
No, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve.
I'd second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? The motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item B4, consider authorization and execution of contract C204-2022, state fiscal year 2023 memorandum of understanding with Heartland Regional Alcohol and Drug Assessment Center for assessment and support of clients sentenced to community corrections, $77,500 to be paid with fiscal year 2023 state grant funds, and $23,000 from fiscal year 2022 county budgeted funds.
Commissioners, Tim Phelps, Department of Corrections. First three items that we covered were all juvenile related. This item is part of the adult ISP operation, and we have seen a tremendous surge of success and participation in this program. And so I'm really excited to be able to continue it, and even going to try to seek to grow it a little bit. But we have asked Stacy Cooper from RADAC to come and say a little bit about their operation. Stacy.
Thank you, Tim. Commissioners, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak about Heartland RADAC's Care Coordination Program that's embedded within the Community Corrections Office. This program is built to do a couple things. Number one, we want to serve individuals that are impacted by substance use. And we know that that's happening a lot in this county and across the nation, especially given the pandemic and COVID and such. The other thing it's supposed to do is really facilitate access to the right resources at the right time. This population is incredibly complex, and there's a lot going on. We have an embedded care coordinator that is licensed to support access to things like a substance use assessment, access to treatment, and collaborating with treatment providers to ensure that information gets passed and individuals are supported as they navigate the treatment system. We're also supporting individuals to access things like mental health or traumatic brain injury or whatever is the right resource at the right time. That licensed care coordinator is there to navigate that with the client. The other thing that's really important about this program is access to peer mentorship. We have peer mentors that are running around their communities with these clients, walking them into doors, facilitating access to things like 12-step meetings or smart recovery. The beautiful thing about a peer mentor is that they're, talking to individuals based on their lived experience and leveraging that modeled coaching dynamic to support individuals to access not only treatment, but to stay in treatment or to complete their legal obligations. This program has had incredible success. Like Tim said, we have 85% of the individuals that come into this program get assessed. 97% of them engage in a recovery activity. So that's pretty exciting. As of right now, I think in May 2022, we had 70 probationers engaging with our care coordinator, and 62 of them were engaging with peer mentorship. We continue to see the value of this program because having an individual who's licensed in-house, not only is she able to care coordinate, the clients, but she's able to support the probation officers because resources in this community are ever changing and things shift constantly. Having somebody to assist in navigating that is a priceless gift. And I think that that's why we continue to see so much value by having somebody in-house. And then you take the peer mentors who are running around in the community with clients, meeting them where they are, walking them into doors. That's why we have 97% of them, accessing recovery resources. So this is a program that's really built to serve people, and I think we've seen that in the data, and we continue to see that in the outcomes. Happy to answer questions.
Chairman?
Yep.
How many of your clients wind up touching, maybe through their family or other family members, the other programs that we talked about, whether it's One Heart, Oasis, Juvenile Intake, Big Brothers, or Boys and Girls Club? Do we see a lot of crossover with families?
I think we do. Do we have the exact data? No, but the reality is when individuals are navigating the criminal justice system, they're also having different needs in the community and touching on resources. So the intention of a care coordinator really is to kind of be the center of that wheel and hub to support how we connect with the treatment providers, we connect with the family providers, we connect with the mental health providers to ensure that there's a collaborative, multidisciplinary team approach to these individuals, because ultimately we want them to successfully complete their legal obligations. And we also want them to, feel the support that this community can provide. Sometimes that's walking alongside them and just bringing the team, the bigger team together.
Heartland RADAC is often the first step to recovery.
Yes, it is.
So if a person's coming to that first step, what might they anticipate, or what might we do to be able to, what do you do?
I love that question. I love talking about our services. When it comes to that first step, often that first step is assessment and just sitting down and talking to somebody about what's going on. You know, building rapport and creating connection is what leverages recovery. And in order to do that, we just have to talk to somebody and hopefully engage with them in a manner that not only helps us understand what's going on, but creates maybe a substance use diagnosis and access to care. And when I talk about access to care, that can be treatment, but sometimes that is other services that we provide in the community. We have a lot of things going on in this county specifically related to dual diagnosis and third or more DUI and assessments and the peer mentorship. So we're navigating this entire system of care to ensure that we have different spots in which clients can get access to the right resource at the right time. And so assessment is a huge part of that. And we hope to continue to be able to just bridge the gap and walk people into those doors.
Is Heartland just for people that are involved in the criminal justice system? Or?
Oh, absolutely not.
So if you have a family member who maybe you're concerned about their drinking, or you're concerned about with the depression, or concerned about where they may be, can they contact your office about how to get information?
Absolutely. So I'll give you our phone number, 913-789-0951. That is a number that is answered 24/7. We are always available to talk to people who are in substance use crisis and to assist them in navigating this complex system. Because let's be real, a lot of people don't know where to start. And I think that we can be that first stop, and then we can support individuals in accessing the right services for them. So we're happy to take those phone calls and just to have conversations.
What's that number again?
913-789-0951.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, guys.
Thanks.
Commissioners, before you vote on this, I would like to just make a couple of points. First, Commissioner Cook, to what you asked earlier. One of the things that we're working on in the ISP operation is if we have an adult who's in the ISP program, because they've been sentenced there, and they have children, then we are trying to build a system that will allow them as a family to access more resources. And so that's an extension of the assessment process that was just described. And the second thing is that RADAC has, the buzzword these days is evidence-based. And RADAC has, by that measure, the strongest model that we have for that kind of recovery services and guidance in the state, and significantly maybe even within the nation. So it is a solid program because it has solid results. I'll be happy to answer any of the questions you have.
Any further questions? All right, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I just want to say how great it is to have everybody here today to kind of talk about some of these programs. When these approvals of these memorandums of understandings came on the agenda, I was like, let's have people come in and kind of highlight the things that they're doing and showcase us. I mean, this is approximately $800,000 for youth programming in Shawnee County, and another $100,000 for substance abuse. I think this is a fantastic thing that these grants are available, and hope that they do a lot of good.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you for doing that.
next item, please.
Item C, Parks and Recreation, number 1, consider approval of request for the Parks and Recreation personnel actions with funding in the amount of $47,920.91 available from the department's operations budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Department. I think at some point over the past 6 months or so, I've spoken with each one of you individually about what we're wanting to talk about today. Before I jump in, I also want to thank the Audit Finance Department and their HR Department for their help in organizing some of this and working with me on it. But I would like to touch briefly on these personnel actions that I'd like to make. I'll note right off the top that all of these actions can be funded currently out of our current operating budget, so we're not asking for any additional funds to make these happen, and that includes some new positions that we're asking for. So I'll just run through them briefly and be happy to answer any questions after that. We'd like to consolidate our Planning and Development Director position with our Park Operations Division. Jeremy Myers left us several months ago, and so we're basically operating in this manner right now, but we'd like to make it official. We want to, number 2, consolidate the duties of our volunteer services coordinator position into those of our community events supervisor. We think we can combine those and take care of both of those roles with one person. Number 3, we'd like to create, these are new positions, create and fill the following positions: the administrative superintendent. So if you look at the top of our organizational chart, we would eventually end up with a park superintendent, a recreation superintendent, and this administrative superintendent. And then right above that, the deputy director and the director. So that would be the top 4 positions. That position, that administrative superintendent, would oversee the combined divisions of our financial services, Linda Kelly's old division, and Olivia Mayer's old division in planning and development. So we'd combine those into one, and then I think we can actually expand the services that we're offering out of that division. An accountant 2 position, which would actually replace Linda Kelly's old position and take care of all of our financial operations. And then lastly, a multimedia coordinator position, which would assist Mike McLaughlin with all of our social media, website development, community engagement, publication of our guide, a lot of things that we do. We've had multiple people helping him in that role before, but right now that's all falling on Mike. And then number 4, reclassify 5 supervisor and 5 manager positions. This really came out of the wage study, and in hindsight, I wish we could have caught some of this earlier in the process. We did catch some of it. We didn't really notice a lot of this until this was over, so I take some responsibility for that. But essentially what we're trying to do is align people in our department that have like responsibilities and like requirements to have those jobs and get them on the same level. And that's essentially where they were before, but things got a little out of sync after the wage study. So as I mentioned before, we can pay for all of these moves out of our current budget. I think ultimately when we're all said and done, you'll see better communication, better efficiency. We're actually able to take a little bit, some of the positions off the top of our org chart and move those down into areas where we'll put more people out in the field. So we think that's good. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions for Tim?
So, Tim, in whole, this is a reorganization of part and realignment of part to bring your department a more compact and smoother operation?
That is definitely the goal. And I know that the Parks and Recreation Department over the last 10 years, I've only been here 4, but I know over the last 10 years or so has undergone many different organizational changes. And I didn't want to do that when I got here. I wanted to spend some time and sort of understand where we needed to make changes and what made sense. And then, as you know, we've had a lot of retirements. We have some pending retirements, and we had some other folks just leave the department. So this seemed like an opportune time to make some of these changes.
Thank you for taking the time to evaluate and make that decision, not rushing into it. And so I appreciate the work that's gone into this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I would move for approval.
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tim. Next item, please.
Item D, Commission number 1, consider the appointment of Kathy Mosier to the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring June 30, 2025.
All right, I would move for approval of the appointment of Kathy Mosier.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider resolution number 22-52, establishing the salaries of all elected appointed officials effective July 2, 2022.
Good morning, Commissioners. Angela Lewis with Human Resources. As the clerk mentioned, the resolution establishes the salaries for for elected and appointed officials. There has been careful consideration given to fair compensation from the Evergreen Wage Study, as well as being able to be good stewards of the budget that was put in place to pay for wages. My recommendation would be to approve the resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I have no questions.
Questions, comments? Okay, is there a motion?
You want to make it, Bill, or?
Go ahead.
All right. Since we've all reviewed it, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item D3, consider resolution number 2022-53, establishing salaries for all department heads effective July 2, 2022.
Again, we carefully considered the wage study and the budget, and I would just like to say, while I have a moment, that the elected officials and directors of Shawnee County work very hard, and it's a good day to be able to compensate them according to the wage study and to the other, for all the work that they do.
Okay. So again, this is a result of the wage study that we did. It wasn't done at the same time as the rest of our wage study, just because there were more variables that we needed to talk about at the time. So I would make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item. Thank you, Angela. Next item, please.
Item 5 is public comment.
Okay, we do have a couple of members of the public signed up to speak today. John Nathan.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'd like to thank you for your time and effort in going forth on the Barrington project. Thank you for listening, and I talked to Kurt, and we've come to an agreement on certain things, and that agreement is right here. But what also is on my mind is that there are certain other circumstances that have come to my attention, and the one thing that is on my mind is that out of Matthew it says, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and soul and all thy mind." That's the first and greatest commandment. And the second unto it is, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor like thyself." Well, these are my neighbors, Linda and Jerry Shulman. As you might recognize Jerry, he was with me the first time we showed up. In my agreement, they decided that just compensation was going to be around $8,000 for the value of loss of property value. And I asked Jerry and Linda, I said, "What are they going to compensate you?" And they had not contacted them, hadn't talked to them, hadn't said anything to them. And therefore, when Linda did contact them to talk about compensation, they were told that they were going to get zero. Well, the water that comes onto my property comes from their property and comes across the road on their property down onto mine. They're going to be affected at least as much, if not more, because I found out that there were other things that I should have been taking into consideration. Damage to trees due to the construction project, because when you tear the roots out, trees are eventually going to be hit. The roots, the tree may die in 2 or 3 years after the construction project. I did not even consider these things into my offer, but I'm going to accept the offer because that's the way I am. But they, on the other hand, haven't been offered anything. So they were told that, to prove that value, well, it was offered to me. So if it was offered to me as just compensation, there's the proof that they need for their compensation for the loss of the water that's coming across. As far as this morning, when we looked out there, there was no water coming down the ditch that they say is going to be feeding water. Absolutely dry. But the water coming across the road in the creek, it's there. That's the water running water feature we're talking about. And just this last weekend, there was a pond show. Why is that important? Because running water and water adds value to properties. And when I found out some of these people paid $40,000 just to have a little creek installed on their property, just to make it look pretty with a little pond, that was incredible. Theirs is natural, theirs is there. And in 5 to 10 years, this is going to truly affect them, because if Jerry or Linda go into a nursing home and they have to sell the property, that value is going to be gone, and they're going to be looked at in a different light from that. So if they have to sell the property, and Jerry says, I don't plan on living another 10 years, I might probably have to sell it and divide the money between my 2 sons so they don't have to argue. So anyhow, that's why I'm here, and I'm on their behalf, because love thy neighbor as love thyself. Well, I love them, and they're great. So anyhow, if you have any questions, I could do that, or Linda, I think, wants to speak afterwards. So.
Okay. Appreciate that, John.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up will be Linda. If you could just state your name for the record.
Linda Shulman, and I just wanted to say I've lived there for 50 years and enjoyed looking out my front door at the creek, natural water running. But by the time the construction's done, I'm sure it's just going to look like a small dried up creek, which I will miss. My kids played down there, hunted frogs down there, made a wooden bridge across. So there's a lot of memories, and I would hate to lose my running water naturally creek. And when they take the bridge out, I don't know where the water's going to come from without that creek. And I just thought we should be compensated for the loss that we're going to have. Thank you for letting me speak.
All right, thank you. Were you wanting to speak as well? Okay. All right, is there any other member of the public wishing to speak today? Seeing none, next item, please.
Item 6, Administrative Communications.
Any administrative communications?
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. Excuse me, and it is budget time. Our budget hearings will start on Tuesday. So we will have budget hearings all Tuesday morning, July the 5th, Wednesday morning, July the 6th, Thursday afternoon, July the 7th, Monday afternoon, July the 11th, and Tuesday morning, July 12th. We will also have discussions regarding the capital improvement plan requests during each of those department budget hearings. Also, all of these budget hearings will be live streamed. They will also be recorded and available on our website. One other thing, the capital improvement plan requests will also be available through our website also. Any questions? Oh, one other thing I will mention now, it's a little ahead of time, but I will mention on Monday, August the 22nd, we will have our public hearing at 5:30 p.m.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. I know how much everybody loves budget time. So, any other administrative communications?
Good morning, Commissioner Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. I just would like to remind everybody that Monday, the office will be closed in celebration of the 4th of July. So everything will slide to the right one day. Monday customers will be picked up Tuesday, and then that Wednesday will be our double day with our Tuesday and our Wednesday customers. And just like to remind everybody to have a safe and wonderful holiday. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. Just a couple of announcements. Tuesday, June 28th was at noon was the deadline for applications for the 2 new district magistrate judge positions. There were 8 applications submitted, 5 attorneys and 3 non-attorneys. Interviews for those two positions will be July 27th, beginning at 9 o'clock. And those will take place in courtroom 4D. The nominating commission actually makes the appointments that day following their interviews, as opposed to the district judge positions where those names are simply submitted to the governor for his or her selection and appointment. Secondly, the Shawnee County Sheriff's Department and a few of us from the court are organizing and hosting a retirement reception for Corporal Jim Garner, who is retiring on July 5th. So from 2:30 to 4:30 in the basement conference room, there will be a retirement reception, come and go for Corporal Garner.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Anyone else? Seeing none. Commissioner Cook?
Just 4th is here. Obviously, no meeting on Monday. And so everybody have a happy 4th.
Okay. Commissioner Rippon?
We had an interesting train ride the other day. I think all the commissioners were on that. Burlington Northern Santa Fe. It was good to get out and see what type of cars they have. They had a variety of cars on that little excursion. We just went mainly over to Lawrence and back was basically the run. And it was a fun little trip. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, it was fun, and thank you to BNSF for putting that together. And I know they worked with the GTP to organize things. My 10-year-old came along, and he'll say thank you for the free M&Ms that they had provided. So it was a nice trip. 4th of July is here, and so that's fun. Enjoy the spirit of Kansas if you can. There's a car show, a golf tournament, a blues festival, fireworks show. Lots of great stuff happening at Lake Shawnee this weekend, so take advantage of that. Have a happy and safe 4th of July. Like Commissioner Cook said, no meeting on Monday, so we'll be back on really Tuesday for our budget hearings. And then next meeting, official meeting, will be Thursday. So that's all I have. So next item, please.
Item 7, executive sessions.
We do have a need for executive session today, so I will move that we go into executive session for a period not to exceed 20 minutes for the following reason. For consultation with an attorney for the public body or agency which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, specifically for contract negotiations involving the courthouse renovations. No action is expected at this time. Let's go ahead and just begin right away, 9:52, and that'll be for 20 minutes. So that's my motion.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. We're in executive session. All right, we're back from executive session. No action was taken. We are adjourned.
Got two for all three of you to sign. The rest